All right.
We need a data analyst guy. Oh, also,
Hello, everybody. Welcome to today's show. My name is Spencer Walsh. We are back today, continuing our part 2 of our kind of unwanted coverage of another election. 2 elections for 2 all-determining seats in the Georgia Senate, or the 2 Georgia seats that will determine the balance of the U.S. Senate. That is going to be between Kelly Loeffler and David Perdue, the 2 Republican candidates, and Raphael Warnock and Jon Ossoff on the Democratic side, respectively. Those 2 going to be matching up. We have a great team, as always, to discuss it. We have with us today James Weld, Ken Nocte, and James Stanley taking us through, at least for a good portion, until we get an idea of what's going to happen, kind of the same way we did it on election night. And, of course, we can start, before we get into some more of the data and the details here, we're going to give you the early results. So right now, Warnock is up 5 and Ossoff is up 3. Over there, the 2 Democrats are up over their opponents with both 27% reporting. And it's interesting to see the ticket splitting margins here. But yeah, we've seen mixed results. Some counties looking good early for Republicans. Will this lead hold? It's pretty significant, at least on Warnock's side, but it is shimmering on Ossoff's side. And I'll tell you the vibe that I have, as well as open it up to my great teammates who are going to be joining us. That's going to be our election team tonight. All right. Welcome to today's show. So we do have a I have to be honest, it was a little bit first of all, I always kind of thought that we were not going to know. Like, I had no idea. I was like, I'm giving up predicting. I don't get any kind of a feeling for this race at all whatsoever. I don't think any of the polls are very good. But then I saw this thing where it's like the 2 Democrats are underperforming in a certain county, an early county that just finished counting. And I was just like, oh no, they're both going to lose. It just, the Democratic fever hit me, which is losing. I don't know. How you guys feeling? And first of all, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for coming on. Really do appreciate it.
thanks for having me.
All right. Ken, we could start with you.
I don't. Turnout is going to be lower because it is not a presidential election. So I think it's going to be close, but I think probably both Republicans are going to win, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is the sense that I get, and I really feel like the way it is, it's going to be either over 2 or 2 for 0, like depending on your perspective.
Yeah, I agree.
It's going to really flip one way.
I would agree with that as well.
James, from what you've seen so far, how are you feeling?
It is early to make predictions, and a lot of the vote is coming in like in patches from different parts of the state. Like, I see Savannah, which is that's like a Democratic vote factory. Mm-hmm. Well, I shouldn't say that, actually, but you know what I mean.
I know Kamala was rallying there to turn out very recently. So
yeah, and that's only 1% reporting, and it seems like a lot of these rural counties are getting in. They're dumping their votes really quickly, but the Democratic counties are, as expected, going to take a long time. But what we're seeing right now from that data is making me cautiously hopeful, but pragmatically, I'm still very much on the fence about who's going to win. I don't really want to make any firm assertions until we get more data, you know?
All right, so it looks like we have a...
we have a guest, a voter from Georgia. He lives in Cobb County, named Charles Mayo. He lives in a suburban, wealthy white household. So, Charles, tell us a little bit about how you're feeling tonight and who you've supported.
Feeling very good. I voted only for Jon Ossoff because I felt that he was the most sincere candidate.
Interesting.
I didn't like Kelly Loeffler. She seemed like a robot. Same goes for David Perdue. And then also Warnock didn't really impress me. I thought he was going to be a very, very interesting Obama-esque candidate, but he turned out a little bit more, I don't know what exactly the word I'm looking for would be to use to describe him.
More flat?
I guess a little flat. Yeah. He didn't seem all as interesting as I thought he was. initially,
That
especially
is-
during his debate.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys have been just bombarded with ads and phone calls and like mailing and everything else like that for the last like
Yeah.
2 months. I believe the most expensive Senate election that we have ever seen. There are 2 elections there, and I think it is really interesting. We have seen a little bit of a comeback. Like it started off as I viewed Ossoff as like the big, like Pete Buttigieg type boring character who's just so like corporate and like very robotic, and Warnock to be like the energetic kind of like secret progressive, or at least former progressive, and that was like something I was really watching. And then Ossoff really started like hitting the $2,000 and $1,200 alternatively survival checks, that really changed the dynamic. It made a lot more about policy. Did you get that sense as well?
Most definitely.
Yeah, that is interesting.
Yeah.
Please expound if you were going to.
Additionally, I think that we need to look at a lot here. Is the suburban vote is what changed the presidential election, but here I think it's going to be a little different. Obviously, it seems that voter turnout's not as high already, right? I think that is correct, right?
Yeah,
It's-
it's
how
a little
far
bit
down
down
is it?
from the general election.
Do we have an actual figure, or is it?
Early
Yes, we know
voting is
down.
up, huge, big league,
yes.
league, but
Big league.
And it heavily favors
But-
the Democrats, which I mean, it depends. When are they? Do we know when they're going to count their early vote-ins?
Other voters
the
are kind of
early
first.
vote and we have seen very little election day votes so far.
Yeah.
That's what I will
And
say.
I've heard a large portion is early voting, and that is not necessarily as pro-Democrat as it was in election time.
True.
I've heard it
early
does
voting
favor.
does
It's
not-
still
Early voting does favor Democrats, but not as much necessarily as mail-in voting would have in the election.
Which
Mail-in
I
is much
think
more.
it is very surprising because Trump really hammered. At least, I mean, he kind of pushed the idea that the early vote-ins were not exactly secure, which is interesting. That there's now more people doing early vote-ins.
Yeah. And that turnout for early voting, I believe, has been stronger in Democratic areas and weaker in Republican areas, which is to be expected. Turnout
So
increase.
yeah, I do want to kind of like bring your attention to a very interesting piece of advertising that actually James sent on, and if he's listening to this or you can hear us in any way, like please come in and join the voice chat here so you can come and be on the show. I don't know why he's not joining, but he did send a very interesting little tidbit from Jeremy Peters, the latest updates section on like the New York Times election page. He writes, all that advertising seemed to have worked for Republicans in at least one way. According to AP surveys, more voters see Ossoff and Warnock as more extreme than Perdue and Loeffler, and that's a really insane thing, and it probably plays a pretty big role into how the vote's going to go tonight, like the views of these two candidates.
Yeah. Wait. What did he send? He sent
that more voters see the Democrats as more extreme than Perdue and Loeffler. It was a little like
because they keep railing, like they call Warnock as like a radical liberal. Like, come on.
Yeah, that was insane. And it's like if that's like really like that messenger is like making such a difference with people, like that seems like it's only looks bad on the Democrats, because Kelly Loeffler, it's like she's not a very passionate like politician or like a very effective communicator from what I could tell.
I'm feeling less and less good about Ossoff for whatever reason.
Huh. Yeah, I was surprised to see that Ossoff. Well, it's now 4-3, and you can only imagine
He
there's
is
not gonna be too
lagging.
much-
He's lagging.
like a
You know,
0.3,
way
but
behind. this election was in the general decided by
That's
tens
true.
of thousands, and a whole percentage point is a large difference between these two. If this is going to come down to tens of thousands,
Mhm.
yeah.
Very famously, 11,789 or 79 votes.
I need to find it. I just need to find it.
Yeah, I think like have you seen anything, James, specifically about the counties in comparison to Trump and the way he just did in 2016, and how like the Republicans are doing and vice versa for the Democrats and Biden?
How have I seen data on the shift from Trump's performance in 2016 to how
Oh, sorry, in
the Democrats
2020.
are doing now?
Yeah, like what in 2020, like Trump in November versus
I'm honestly not sure. Because I think that we're gonna have to give it time to really suss it out, because that kind of difference is going to come down to percentage points within the margin. That could be like something like 5 to 10, depending, which is something that we're not going to be able to like estimate until we get more of the vote in, because I don't think it's going to be a huge swing that would be noticeable this early on. But then again, I'm also not a data analyst. So
All right, so I'm checking the New York Times needles.
Yes, they're back.
Warnock and
Needles.
Warnock versus Loeffler. It's tilting Warnock by 1 point. And then Ossoff versus Purdue, it's tilting Ossoff by 0.6. But like this is like almost nothing. So
Interesting tweet from Dave Wasserman. There are now 19 really red rural Georgia counties that look fully reported, and the turnout is only at 82 to 90% of November levels in all of them. That's probably not enough to cut it for ours, but still a long way to go. And he says like probably puts it in the asterisk. So it's a very unsure but a early good sign in the Democrats' favor, which is really all we have at this point, other than the slowly coming in numbers.
And I'll take anything.
absolutely.
I'll take anything.
What is this? What is this? Washington County got 100% in. It's some rural county in Georgia. And
Yeah.
voted for Warnock. It's probably like a black, probably.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my god, the map of Georgia haunts me again. God, I'm gonna spend the next couple days like slaving over this thing.
Yeah, because it very well could be a couple of days, unfortunately.
We should get Kyle in here because I know he wanted to talk about some things.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
as
we
long as
have
it
a,
doesn't like, as long as it's not a weird person that like does what it did last time, then I'm fine with it.
No, he's
No.
a college student from Florida.
All right, then let's get him in. The more the merrier. That's what I say.
And let's definitely get James Stanley in here
Yes.
too.
Yeah,
His-
where
I'm
is
trying to call
James
him.
Stanley?
He was the one person I was like, oh yes, he'd definitely be here, but he does not seem to be. Like
Yeah, he's going
I just
early.
called him and it went like straight to like voicemail. So we don't quite know.
Maybe he just got like his RD back from Cornell or something.
Maybe. We wishing him
That would
luck
be
in
crazy because
applying to Cornell.
I don't know. He's on D&D for whatever reason, which is like
Mr. Kyle Rittenhouse, welcome to the podcast. Kyle is a Florida college student.
Hey guys, how's it going?
Yeah.
Welcome. Not
do
Kyle
you,
Rittenhouse, of course.
No.
Preferably not. I'd hate to be in jail. I wouldn't survive.
So,
Yeah.
what do you think about the Georgia Senate race?
I'm gonna be honest, guys. Like I said before, I don't know anything about the Georgia race. But outside of the Georgia race, I am pretty political.
Really?
Which is ironic, and also like that's not layered in irony.
So like, do you just think like the Senate isn't really like a big deal, or like you more?
Oh no, it's a huge deal. I just like after the election, I was so burnt out of politics that I just like.
That makes sense. That's a pretty normal reaction, I gotta say.
Why don't you tell
Like
us about
if I lived in Georgia, I'd be really into it. But I'm like my part's done.
I'd honestly be more sick of it. You know how many ads they're getting? Like people are apparently excited just to see the ads end because it's like inundated. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's definitely very interesting.
Yeah, the double elections focused on such an important, like super high stakes for the next at least 2 years. I don't know. Yeah, again, if James were here, he'd be like, well, the Senate map is looking for the Democrats really, really good or really bad next year, but we do not know. So
Yeah, I know. I think the year after next year is usually really bad for Democrats, though.
yeah. The 22 midterms, like I think they're definitely in danger of like losing the House. It's probably likely.
Losing the House, losing the Senate if we win
Wait,
these 2 seats.
Wait, who won? If the Democrats win Georgia, do they have the presidency? They have the
They had
Senate
everything, yeah.
Yeah,
and the
Yeah, they have
House
everything by slim margins.
by very slim.
yeah. The perfect
Yeah,
amount to like point to like Joe Manchin.
Joe Manchin is going to be the most powerful. Why is it that old men from Appalachia become the most powerful men in the Senate, like repeatedly? Not even just Mitch